Hey everybody, welcome. It's summer sprint day 2. Welcome everyone. I'm Katie Lance. I'm so excited to have you here, have you back. This is our free 2-day business reset for realtors, and I am so excited. We had so much fun yesterday, and today is day 2. And I'm excited to kick things off with my dear friend Marguerite Martin. We have an awesome session for you today. Welcome, Marguerite. I'm so happy you're here.
Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I will officially introduce Marguerite in just a minute, but as you guys are tuning on in, comment in the chat, say hi. Let me know that you can hear me okay. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We've got a lot of folks who have signed up for yesterday as well as today. So we are, like I said, excited to have you here. I've got my QR code on the screen. If you're at a place where you can take out your phone and scan that, give me a follow. Connect with me over on Instagram. And if you're driving, don't do this. But if you're at a place where you can scan, do that. And as we go through our session today, I know you're going to get lots of ideas and nuggets. I always say, take out your phone, post them to social, post them to Instagram, tag me, tag Marguerite. I know I'm going to hop on social later and love to connect with you and see what your takeaways are. Today, we're going to go for about an hour. This is being recorded. So if you missed something or you want to begin or you want to rewind, pause, which you're probably going to want to do because there's lots of good stuff. That'll be sent out later today. So welcome. I can see a lot of you guys chatting in the chat. Hello, Pam. Good to see you, my friend, one of our longtime Academy members. Hello, Annalise. Good morning from wine country. Awesome. I do not have wine. It's a little early for wine time. I've got coffee, water. I don't know, Marguerite, if you have any beverages with you, but
No, I wish I did.
you'll see I've got 2. So I will virtually share one with you. Hey, Karen, good to see you. Sydney's here. Archelia's here. Helen, Annalise. Catherine, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time zone you are in. Let me really quick, if those of you who are here with us live, did you attend yesterday? Did you see Christine's training yesterday? Just let me know in the chat, yes or no, if you were here yesterday. It was awesome. Christine George is one of my favorite friends and marketers. She talked all about branding, which I think is such an important topic for anyone, whether you've been in business a few minutes or a few decades, is an important topic. And if you missed it, we did send the replay out yesterday, and we're going to send it out again later today when we send out Marguerite's class. So I could see a lot of you saying yes, no, we'll plan to watch it later. Yeah, no worries, Jim. Karen said had a conflict and 8 hours of showing property. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're sending you some love, Karen. Oh my goodness. Yes, says Cindy. Fantastic. All right. Well, yesterday was day 1. We talked all about branding. Today is really perfect because we're talking about being at the halfway point. And I discovered yesterday on Instagram that literally yesterday was the literal halfway point of the year. And I thought, well, this is just perfect timing that we're talking about being halfway there. So like I said, yesterday we talked about how to stand out in a sea of sameness with branding. That was with Christine George. Today, I'm going to bring up Marguerite in just a second, and she's going to talk about being halfway there and making 2025 count. And we're going to look at your goals, marketing, and prospecting. Now, most of you signed up for this seminar, which means you're getting the replays and the bonus stuff that we're sending. But if you just randomly showed up here because someone sent you a Zoom link, or maybe you are in an office somewhere and you're not sure how you got here, there is a QR code on the screen that will allow you to give me your email. I will not spam you, but when you do that, then I can send you the replays. You have the replays that you can watch over and over and the bonus material and all the good stuff. So that's what that QR code is on the screen for. Feel free to take out your phone and scan it, and I'll drop the link in the chat in a little bit. Jim says, I was on a bed donating plasma. Oh my goodness, Jim, you are awesome. Well, I'm happy you're here. So one of the big reasons we are hosting Summer Sprint, by the way, is because we wanted to highlight these 2 amazing ladies. Christine and Marguerite are 2 of our featured speakers. They are our keynote speakers for our upcoming Vegas Mastermind at the beautiful Bellagio at the end of the year in November, which is going to be here before we know it. And it's a once a year, small, intimate retreat that we host once a year. And we have a few spots left. And we thought, well, for anyone who is thinking about it or you are curious about what that might look like, we wanted to bring these amazing folks on so you could hear from them and hear their expertise. And at the end today, we're going to give you a little sneak peek into what the mastermind is all about. It's really more than just an event. It's actually an event plus small group coaching, which is really going to help set yourself up for success and accountability into 2025 to 2026. So stay tuned towards the end. We've got some fun bonus stuff for you too that we will talk about. Okay, so the whole theme of this summer sprint has been all about work hard, play hard. And if you are taking pictures of anything as you are on social and watching this and possibly multitasking, take out your phone, take a picture of this, and feel free to share this. This is really my mantra in a big way. Work hard, play hard. I was just chatting with Marguerite recently about this. This whole idea of, none of us got into business to work 1,000,000 hours a week. We all, for the most part, became entrepreneurs so we could have that freedom and flexibility. However, as we all know, things come up, we love what we do, and that can, sometimes easier said than done. And so, I think this is such a timely time to talk about where are we at in our goals, where are we at in the year. And so, that being said, without further ado, I would like to officially welcome my dear friend, Marguerite Martin. For those of you who don't know Marguerite, I have probably known Marguerite, gosh, I don't know, probably at least a decade, maybe 2 decades. I don't know. It's been a long time. Marguerite is the founder of MoveToTacoma.com, as well as the Move to Tacoma podcast. I think she is someone who does an amazing job when it comes to business and social media. And also I have seen from the sidelines her talk about this idea of goal setting and tracking and productivity. And she's one of the best people out there. So I'm just excited to have her here today. So welcome, Marguerite.
Thank you, Kate.
Absolutely. So I'm going to stop sharing so you can share your screen here. And again, if you guys just joined, by the way, comment in the chat, say hi, give Marguerite a warm welcome. And by the way, if you guys have questions as we go through our time together today, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to be kind of monitoring the chat, and I'm just going to pop in periodically as Marguerite is teaching. And if you guys have a burning question, I'm happy to interrupt and ask.
Amazing. Shall I dive in, Katie?
Dive in. Let's do it.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I was telling Katie, I'm a little bit nervous. Like, I love the Academy. I feel like the folks that are in the Academy are doing social media and, doing the business at a high level. And it's always tricky when you do a mid-year check-in, because this is really, in my mind, this is something that a lot of us do one-on-one. So it can be very tailored to an individual. And in this situation, I'm going to try to use a couple of case studies to speak to people who might be kind of at this halfway point at having different circumstances in their business. Obviously, people are on this call from all over the country, which means different market, different levels of supply and demand. What's happening in my market in Tacoma might not be happening in your market in San Francisco or wherever you may be. So let's go. First of all, I just want to start by saying I am one of you. I am a licensed real estate agent for 20 years now. These are my headshots for street cred from the older days. And I've done the job of being a traditional agent before social media, when what we were doing was more traditional prospecting, postcards, sphere of influence, billboards, brochures. And then as that has gone on to translate to more like, what Katie is talking about a lot of the time around social media. So I understand that there's a lot of different ways to get business, and this game of how to get business and how to control it as much as possible. That is kind of my obsession. I started Move to Tacoma in 2015 as a way to kind of provide a resource for my buyers that were relocating to Tacoma. Tacoma is not a city that sells itself. It's not like I work in New York or San Francisco and people are coming there and they're like, yeah, I know what I'm getting. It was like, where am I moving? And so it was meant to be a resource for clients. And it ended up being, I got lucky, frankly. Like, I started that website at the right time, a little bit ahead of the curve. And it became a real lead generation source for me. And it's kind of works with blog posts. I have the podcast that I started in 2015. We have over 100 episodes of the podcast where I don't talk about real estate. I interview people in the community about what life is like. And this is really designed and targeted at relocators to the city. So my whole little web, social media, online, YouTube, it's all kind of feeding this cycle, but really targeted at a specific client. Like I said, I got lucky at the time. I got a lot of media coverage, which helped with my SEO. And I found myself in a position, I was talking to my financial coach, where he was like, you're already kind of doing a lot of referrals with your traditional sales. What if you just referred out all your clients? And I thought that was like hilarious. He was like, if you sell 25 houses a year, can't you just close 100 referrals? And it turns out you can do that. I thought about it a little bit, and that is what I do now. So I like to just let people know, I joke that I've been sober from real estate transactions since 2017, because my work has shifted, right? When you take the transaction, which is frankly the hardest part of our job, is this unpredictable puzzle that we're always solving for our clients. The prospecting and the business management, it is a separate part of our brain that we use. And I'm lucky now. My full job is figuring out the client flow, doing the prospecting, and I get to have like a very pure approach to it, which is why I get to share. And I recognize that for the people on this call, you're doing all of that and, like someone said in the chat, showing houses for 8 hours a day, and you're trying to figure out how to piece this in. So this is like a judgment-free zone. I'm not one of those people that's going to be like, and this is what you need to be doing, and if you're not doing it, you're not good at real estate. Like, aren't you hard? And I'm in a really fortunate position to get to really think about prospecting all the time. And like I said, my focus is on relocation. So all of my content, everything that I'm putting out there is relocation related. And I'm really into tracking now because I like to see how to like kind of change that dial. So this is just me talking to some agents. So just for street cred, I've sent 500 plus referrals to other agents since 2017. Like, this is my full-time gig. So you're halfway there. I'm halfway there. I have just done this process for myself, and we're going to do this process together. And the first question that I would ask you is, for your business this year, is everything going the way that you planned? Like, that is the first question. I have a feeling, just based on the folks that I've talked to in my life, based on my own business, this year's been kind of a wild ride. Maybe you were not able to control and predict everything in your business this year. And maybe for some of you who are very experienced, who've been doing this a long time, it actually is maybe going pretty close to how you planned, even if the market hasn't acted the way you thought, even if your clients aren't coming from exactly where you thought that they would come from, right? Depending on the activities we're doing, depending on the market we're in, it may or may not be going that way. If it's not going the way that you wanted it to go, if you're not halfway to where you want it to be, what do you want to do about it? That's the other question. So in a mid-year check-in, these are kind of the places that I start. First, how do you want to finish 2025? What is your goal? And this is typically, if we had a long time to go through this, I'd be asking you about your life, about your feelings. It's not just about money, right? What is that money doing for you, Katie? You talked about work hard, play hard. I always think about it like business should be in support of the life we really want. And in order for that to work, you have to actually take some time to figure out, well, what is the life you want? And that's, we've talked about that, Katie, a lot for the event in November for the mastermind, right? Like really digging into that. But for today, we're just going to talk about the numbers, right? I'm going to assume you have some general idea of how much money you need to make to be happy and to be okay. And if you don't, we're going to pause and reflect on that later. But how do you want to finish the year? How much money do you need to make? And how many transactions is that? Where are you on the journey to that? And how to track your progress towards that goal. One of the things that I find a lot is I'll ask people, like, how many deals have you closed so far this year? How many sellers? How many buyers? And you would be surprised how few agents have that information right here ready to go. And I understand why our business can get a little bit chaotic, but it is very difficult to control and predict. It's very difficult to meet a goal that you're not tracking. So we're going to talk about easy ways to do that. How other agents are doing this, including me. I'm going to share some case studies, and I'm going to talk about how I do my own tracking and how to audit your marketing and prospecting to reliably deliver a steady stream of clients that you love to work with. This is kind of my obsession. I think about it like burners on the stove, right? Like I want to be able to turn them up and turn them down and know what results those are going to create. So these are some places that I get clients. And I've noticed, because I started tracking in detail where my clients were coming from, not just the closings, but the prospects, right? And the difference between the things that make the phone ring and the things that actually close. I started tracking this in 2017. So I have years of data now where I can see some years Instagram is popping off and other years it's the contact form on my website. And then I can look at what are the activities I did, what's happening in the market that's kind of moving people from place to place.
Can I interrupt you really quick?
Yes, please.
Sorry. I just saw a good question, which is a big question. So I know you probably won't be able to dig into it too much, but I thought it was important. Ruth says, how do you find agents to trust? To trust to do a good job with referrals. I have a few who I work with, but I've referred to several agents who seem to drop the ball.
I literally have like a 90-minute class on that. Katie, have me back. I have a lot to say. Just the question. And yes, the way I did it 7 years ago was not the way I did it now. But 2017, 8 years ago, the way
If
I did it.
anybody would like that class, let me know in the chat, yes or no, if you would like.
Yeah, if you want that, like I would love to come back and talk with you about that because it's not a simple answer. Nothing with referrals when you're trying to have a high close rate is simple.
Okay, there's a lot of guesses.
Once you get it, learn from my mistakes, and it's actually pretty straightforward. So yeah, these are the questions that I usually ask folks that sometimes they know the answers to and sometimes they don't. This is one that I would screenshot. You have a replay, so you don't really have to screenshot it. You can just watch it again. How many buyers have you closed year to date? How many sellers have you closed year to date? How many days, this is one that people don't usually track that I think is really helpful. How many days from the initial contact to closing? Because when we're talking about this mid-year check-in, there is still 6 months left, but there's a big difference between if it takes you 4 months from contact to close and 2 months from contact to close, right? Depending on what market you're in, how quickly things are moving, what kind of clients you have, how motivated they are, right? So this is, we're going to need to do different activities and, at different volumes if we only have 6 months to actually see some changes. I do want to edit, this isn't a slide, but I do want to editorialize that in 2019, I had a really slow year. I was basically taking the year off. I was taking a sabbatical. Katie knows all my business in Portland. And I didn't have much going on. I had, I think 4 closings for that first half of the year. And I decided, okay, I'm going to pick it up for the end of the year. And I had what I called a content tsunami. I did 30 days of a blog post every day. I was posting on Instagram. I had this whole content plan that I did in July. And I closed more in the last 6 weeks of the year than I did in the first half of the year. So I know this kind of thing is possible if it helps if you're tracking though. Like that's the first thing I want to say. So what was the lead source of each of those clients is the next question. And again, I'm recommending, I'm going to show you an example of how I do it, but I'm recommending keeping a list of all of your prospects, their names, where they came from, what date they first contacted you, when they closed, and how much the closing was. And after a few years of this, it can be very interesting to see, oh, I've generated this much business from my Instagram and I spent this much on Instagram. I generated this much from YouTube and I've spent this much on YouTube. You can get really nerdy with it. I'm not even like a naturally deeply analytical person, but I've developed that muscle because again, it's controlling, I'm able to control and predict the client flow more effectively, which suits me and makes me feel safe and makes me feel like I can decide how much money I make, which is what I want for everyone. And yeah, so then ultimately, of course, then what are the prospecting activities I need to do over the next few months to ensure that I can reach those goals by the end of the year? Does that make sense, Katie? I know that's a little like, I feel like a mad scientist over here.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you might cover this in a second. I saw a question Diane asked. Do you do this through a spreadsheet?
I do. I'm going to show you. I tried doing that a little bit, but I'll show you exactly what I do.
I love that you're tracking, by the way. And I won't even ask who's tracking or who's not tracking because I don't want anyone to feel bad or how. I feel like people have different feelings about it. But as someone who I can just honestly say, there's been lots of times I have done great at tracking and lots of times I have not. And like you said, I think it just gives you some peace of mind because you can, instead of like trusting your gut or like making emotional decisions, you have like data that you can look back at and go, oh, when I did this, this happened. Like, and I'd imagine that just, especially in a business that is so much up and down, looking at what you can control. And that's one thing you can absolutely control, which is cool.
I used to be a little bit embarrassed, Katie, about my rudimentary tracking methods, my simple Excel spreadsheet and my whiteboard, which is basically used to track. And it was our friend Ann Jones at midyear Boat in Tacoma who really encouraged me. She asked me to do a class for her agents. So she's like, tell the truth. Tell them what you're really doing. I'm like, I don't have a CRM. You're on track. I don't have like a software system where I'm tracking all of these metrics. I'm sure it would be more efficient. And I've started to do it a few times. But at the end of the day, like I like a checkbox and a simple spreadsheet. And that's what I'm committed to. And it works for me very well. So if you are a person that can meet, I say this only to say, sometimes people don't get going on the tracking because they think the tracking has to be super complicated.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't.
So as big crystal.
Do you remember your 2025 goals? I think that knowing your numbers is the key, and doing a little audit of those numbers is what it takes to really give you that peace of mind and that control over your money flow. These are the numbers that I think everybody should be tracking. You should have a gross income goal. Again, in a real business plan class, Katie, in November, we can dig into this so much deeper. I know, but gross income, net income. How do you decide how much should be in the gross and net? And how do I decide how much money? And yes, that's a huge conversation. We are not having that conversation today. But you need a gross income goal. You need a net income goal. You need to know the average commission, your average closing. You can take last year's numbers and use those. In my market, we're not seeing a ton of appreciation. So I haven't been padding to go up. That's a pleasant surprise if that happens. I'm just using last year's numbers. How many transactions do you need to reach the gross income goal? So the gross income goal divided by your average commission is the number of transactions. And then what distribution between seller transactions and buyer transactions do you want to have? Do you want to do more listings? Do you want to do more buyers? And depending on number of years in the business, your skill level of listings, your ability to carry the cost of listings. I know for people that are in markets where listings are on the market longer, some people are like, you know what, I'm just going to lean into the buyers. Other people are like, I don't want to be driving around with buyers for longer than before. Give me those listings. They're a sure thing. We all feel differently about that. And I'm not here to debate it today. You get to pick buyers, sellers, whatever you like. Distribute how you want. This is Tammy. I'm going to jokingly call her Tammy Perfect Pants because Tammy is, I think what normally in class, they want to assume that everybody is going to be. Tammy has got her stuff together. And she has a gross income goal of $200,000 and a net income goal. This is after taxes, her office split, and her expenses of $125,000. So she wants to be taking home $125,000. Her average commission is $13,333, which is based on a $530,000 median home price in her market. That's usually what they are. I think that's a pretty average. I know some of you big ballers, you probably have $1 million, $2 million average prices. I'm just going, this is more or less what the price is in Tacoma. And this is, I think, a good rule of thumb. How many transactions to reach her income goal? She wants to do 15 deals in 2025. And at the beginning of the year, she was like, I want 6 sellers, 9 buyers. That's the plan. So that means she needs to have saved $50,000 for taxes and $25,000 for expenses at the end of the year. Saved. I mean, she's going to have spent those expenses, right? But she should have a little account with $50,000 for taxes. And I just met with my accountant 2 weeks ago, so this is real fresh in my mind. If you are a person that struggles to do your quarterly, I did not take to real estate bookkeeping. It took me years to kind of get a flow. And now my accountant and I speak quarterly. When it's time to make that quarterly payment, we have a conversation. How much have I made? How much should I be sending off to the IRS? I recommend looking into what it would cost to do that if you're a person that's not super naturally good at the bookkeeping and not really good at, maybe you spend a little bit of your money and then you find yourself cramming at the end of the year or on a payment plan. Checking in with your accountant, even once a year, like we're doing the mid-year check-in, maybe your mid-year check-in with your accountant. But I say quarterly is amazing to stay on top of all that stuff. So yeah, I made a slide for this. Great. So for Tammy Perfect Pants here, how many clients has she closed year to date? How many seller transactions? How many days from the initial contact to closing? What was the lead source of each of those clients? What are the prospecting activities that Tammy needs to do? Does she need to make any changes or are things going as planned? So for Tammy, so far this year, as of the end of June, she has had 3 closed seller transactions and 5 closed buyer transactions. And here they are. Here are those people. Man, the longest part of this presentation was just trying to make up original names for clients. I need to just use movie star names or something. But these are her client sources: Open House, Sphere. And I like to define, I find that agents tend to just throw people under Sphere to actually define, oh, this is one of her friends. This is actually a referral from a past client, because this can inform how you do your prospecting and how you love on your Sphere as a way of back to controlling and predicting when you start to notice where those clients are coming from and tracking those year to year. And so then we look at her buyers, and the distribution is actually pretty similar, maybe a few more buyers from the open houses, but her main client flow is a combination of her sphere of influence and people that she meets at open houses, which means Tammy is a magnetic and likable person. I was never as good at meeting strangers at open houses, so I envy Tammy and this little lever that she gets to pull. Katie, do you have any questions from the chat at this point, or should I just dive into
so far so good? Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I will delicately try to interrupt Marguerite or any questions you might have. No, you're so good.
All right, so here she is. This is her mid-year, right? You can see her gross income goal of 200. She's made 120,000 this year, and Tammy has a surprise bonus. Her average sales price is actually 15,000. It has gone up a little bit, in whether that's the market or her own vibes. Like Tammy's actually doing a little better than she thought. So she's had 8 deals closed so far. We just said 3 sellers, 5 buyers. And so that means that she has $80,000 to go, which at $15,000, she had originally predicted 7 deal, 3 more sellers, 4 more buyers. But what that actually means is with the 15,000, she actually gets to shave a deal off if she wants to. And she has saved 30,000 for taxes. She has 20,000 remaining if she sticks to her existing goal, which she's going to do. But she's going to trim it back. She's like, look, the average sales price is up. I'm actually thinking she's just going to close those 6 deals. And then she's going to give herself a little treat. She's taking her off. And if I was perfect ham and I had my life together this well, what I would do is hit up a real estate friend. In my mind, Tammy's husband is like Herb, and Tammy and Herb love a cruise. But what I would say to Tammy is her real estate bestie and her real estate bestie spouse should meet up on the cruise ship, and they should do their business planning together for one of those days and write the whole thing off. But that's between Tammy and her accountant. But she's giving herself a little treat. She's going to take off the month of December because she's going to sail in. Her planning, it looks like she's going to hit her goal. That is not everybody, but this just kind of reiterates the best practices, right? Tracking your buyer and seller prospects and the lead source of those prospects. She can see what she needs to keep doing for the rest of the year in order to hit those numbers, right? She's going to keep on track with her sphere of influence prospecting and her open house pace. And she's going to track, looking at, I didn't show a slide for this, but looking at the number of days between the client contact and the closing is going to help her control and predict how quickly that they close so that she can make sure she gets all those closings in by the end of the year. And this is the Google sheet that I was talking about with you earlier, Katie. It looks a little funny because I blocked out the names of the clients. And of course, since I refer, I also have the names of the agents I refer to. But I just want to show you, like, it's super simple. The color coding is just my own. I'm not very aesthetic, but I like to every month change the color so I can just kind of visually see how many people. And so I have a version of this for prospects, and this is the version for closing. You can see these are closing amounts. This is from 2021. So those are the referral amounts. And you can see some buyers and sellers, and then also where they came from. Sphere past client, Yelp. Someone said they found me on Yelp. The contact form on my website, a friend. YouTube. I saw your YouTube video, right? Asking people. And this is it's texting me out of the blue, which I still tend to attribute to Google. Katie, we should talk about that sometime, what your opinion on that is. And Drift is the chat form. That there's like a little chat bot on my website. So this is where they come from. And then over here, the only formula I use, here's the first contact. So I put the client's name, the date they contacted me, and then the closing date, once it's closed, the amount of money, and then the closing date. And the only formula, which my friend had to show me how to do, because I only know how to auto sum in a sheet. So let me just tell you, the very rudimentary sheet, but she showed me how to get it to calculate the date, the number of days between those 2 dates. So once I put the closing date in, it calculates. And so at the end of each year, or even halfway through the year, I can say, like, okay, where are we averaging? And guess what else you can do when you really start to have some fun with this? You can actually then sort by your lead source and say, oh, well, the contact form on my website, which for me is driven by blogging, right? Those are a shorter timeline than my sphere. Like, for whatever reason, if you look here, that sphere past client, that's 195 days. That sphere, 182 days. But then we look at Yelp, that's 112. That's a little better. Oh, contact form, 57. Contact form, okay, that one's long. But look at these, 46, 60, 73. I need to do more blogging if I want to make deals come more quickly. Is this making sense, Katie, what I'm saying? I feel like this.
Yeah. Well, and I to me, it makes sense that it's a faster close in some ways because, and I put Marguerite's website link in the chat a few minutes ago, moved to Kona.com. Like, I would imagine people are probably lurking for a while on your site. I don't know for sure, but I'd imagine they're lurking, they're reading your content, maybe they're listening to your podcast or watching your videos, and then they fill out the form to contact you. So it's like they've sort of been marinating, learning and educating themselves, which I feel like a lot of people do. They sort of lurk before they are ready to actually talk to a real person.
I think there's that set of people, and then there's the people that Googled something, The answer to the question was on the site, and they were like, "Oh, okay, cool.
This is what I need." Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
It's both, right?
Mhm.
There's both sets of people, and I think both. But regardless, they're both at a point of decision. They're both ready to take some action when they do the reach out. It's so nice for me, and it's so nice for the agent that I refer them to, right? Because those agents want somebody who's motivated.
Annalise says, "What about her coaching website?" That's probably a different type of business, I would imagine. Or it's a different audience, right?
My coaching website, like my MargueriteMartin.com website.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wish I told you that. Katie knows that dirty, filthy secret, which is I don't even have an email list. So like, I'm not applying this level of tracking, but I me, and I do feel like I should probably be
It's all good. It's all good.
doing it with agents as well as with clients. But this thing, like this is my real job. This is my real source of income, and so this is what gets my main focus right now. But yeah, I should start applying in other areas. I'm motivated. So, okay, what if you didn't set goals? And I have been this agent. I'm not Tammy Perfect Pants. Some years I've got it all together, and in the past, some years I have not. And a lot of the people I speak with, and this is not limited to people who aren't producing much. I talk to people all the time that are closing a lot of deals that didn't really set a goal for whatever reason and don't really know how much money they've made or how much taxes they owe halfway through the year. They don't, they're just vibing. They're just closing, right? And so there's no shame. I think this is probably more normal than people who are very controlled and rigid and tracking everything. I think this is probably more common based on at least the people I speak to. I don't know about you, Katie, but I think this is pretty normal. Well, let's have a realistic conversation about what you do if you're halfway through the year and you don't know how much money you've made and you aren't exactly sure how much money you'd like to make in the future. I would think about New Year's Eve going into 2026. Where do you want to be? You know, and especially with the kind of year we've had this year where unpredictable does kind of seem to be the name of the game, right? It's not really easy to know what's going to happen next. So knowing what's going to happen for you can be very grounding and helpful. So how much money do you want to make at the end of the year? How do you want to feel? This is Colton. Colton's been going off vibes. Colton did not set a goal. He was just living his best life at the beginning of this year, and he's going to be our next example. So to what I would say to Colton is to pause and reflect. And we don't have time to do all the pause and reflecting here on this call, but I would take a hike, take some time and really think at the end of the year, where do you want to be? How do you want to feel? How much money do you want to have in your account? Do you have some debts that you want to blow out? Do you want to make sure you have enough in your account so when you have that annual call with your accountant, you get to say, yeah, here it is. It's in my business savings account, whatever, right? So think about what you want the year to look like at the end. Or maybe it's like, hey, no, I have a kid going to college next year. I want to have made some progress on a big donation into that. What do they call them? I have no children. 529 account?
Yes.
I'm out of my league. But so for Colton, he did that work. He took that hike. And he said, okay, by the end of this year, I want to have made $150,000 so that I have a net income of $93,000 after my company split and my taxes. The average commission in his market is $15,000. And so for him to get to 150, this is easy math. That's why I picked 15,000. 10 deals. He needs to do 10 deals by the end of the year. That's and he was like, I don't know, 5 sellers, 5 buyers. Sounds good to me. So that's also going to mean saving $37,000 in taxes and assuming about $20,000 in expenses. And I know for some of you, you're like, what? Only $20,000 in expenses? Like, what brokerage is he at? And other people are like, he needs to switch to my company. It's cheaper. Look, this is an example. There's always someone. So yeah, we're going to apply the same list. How many buyer transactions has Colton closed year to date? How many seller transactions? What was the lead source of each of those clients? And how many days from the initial contact to closing? So Colton's shakeout doesn't look like Tammy's. Like, he's been going off vibes and it kind of shows. He has $30,000 year to date because he's closed 2 deals and they were both buyers. He is sticking to his average price though, which is really good. So that means that by the end of the year, he has to do $120,000 in gross commissions, which at $15,000 a pop is 8 deals. And he's thinking 5 sellers and 3 buyers. He's going to stick to his plan. And the reason he feels confident in doing that is he has been tracking his prospects. He does have a little list and he knows he's got some sellers in the hopper. I am going to note here that Colton, knowing the Colton type, has saved 0 taxes. He only had 2 deals closed. He used that money. He spent that money. He's like, I'm going to make up for it at the end of the year. If that's you, and I know I am you sometimes, I know this happens, then you need to make a note as to how much you have to take out extra out of your commission checks so that you can make up that difference. I feel like I'm talking about taxes today, and I feel like this is just the conversations I've been having with people. I hope you are.
From taxes, the necessary evil.
Exactly. Here we are. So he's had 0 sellers and 2 buyers closed so far this year. So there are his buyers. His closings, 1 came from an open house and 1 came from his Instagram. This is his prospective buyers and his prospective sellers list. So he does have a couple people coming online soon. That's why he felt confident in keeping that 5 number. And they were both from open houses. Whereas on the buyer side, he did get 2 from his Instagram, Tom and Carter, and then a buyer prospect that he's looking with from an open house. So clearly, Colton is also a dynamic open house person and is able to close. But he has a lot of his folks from his life, from his sphere of influence on his Instagram. And I'm just going to say this. I'm sure you say this all the time, Katie. Sometimes, like, I blow people's minds with this, but have you followed your sphere of influence on your social media channels? So if you're posting on Instagram, you know, like the people that are the easiest to convert, in my experience, are the people you already know who actually like you, or, you know, you went to college with them, you used to work with them. Have you taken the time to actually go through and find those people and follow them on Instagram? So I note that 2 of these Instagram people, one of them was a stranger, but 2 of them were actually people he went to college with, people from his sphere. People like Colton, and a lot of realtors are likable people. So remember that Instagram and social media is not just for prospecting to strangers. It's also for maintaining and deepening connections with people we already know. Do you have anything to add to that, Katie?
No, I think that's absolutely right. And I think a lot of people did that in the early days of Facebook, where we went through and we sort of friended everybody that we knew or ever knew in our life. And then Instagram came around, and I feel like a lot of people, either, you know, you'll get these notifications like, oh, do you want to connect with so-and-so? But I really like your idea of being proactive, and even you might even think about who you've worked with in the last like 6 to 12 months, like literally take a piece of paper, write them out, and then just like go on Instagram one by one and see if you can find them. Some people you can, some people you can't. And I do this often. And it's like, oh, I'm not connected with that person like I need to be, you know? So yeah, I think that's important for sure. For sure. I'm just going to look at the chat really quick. Karen says, mention Instagram. What about Facebook? Is it out now as an age group? Seniors are where? That could be a whole nother class.
Yeah, I would say boomers have the most money, and boomers are on Facebook. You know, like percent of boomers own their houses in cash. If you're on Facebook, you've got a lot of. I would say that's where the money is in many ways. I don't know.
For sure. One other quick question, if you don't mind me asking right now. Diane says, when you say average commission, is that after your brokerage split?
So the way that I do it on here is I do it before brokerage split, and then I imagine brokerage split is part of what you're taking out between gross and net. And that's just the way, and this is a very simplified version of proper business planning, right? Because the way that people have it taken out, some people pay the desk fee and it's very fixed. Some people are paying a portion. Some people pay a franchise fee. Like, it really depends. So typically when I'm speaking to a big diverse group, I just use a flat number. But yeah, that would be when I would maybe even sit down with my managing broker and say, like, what is the best way to calculate this per commission? Like to track my expenses as I go.
Yeah, good point.
That answers the question.
Yeah, thank you.
So this is what I talk about when I talk about a rudimentary system for tracking. And this is, I mean, Ann Jones freed me. Like, this is really what I'm doing. I have a whiteboard with the prospecting methods that I use, and mine's a little more complex than this. And obviously I don't do open houses anymore. Mine really says Instagram, like the number of Instagram posts I'm going to make for the year, the number of YouTube videos I'm going to make for the year, the number of podcasts I'm going to do for the year, right? And I have all of that. And every time I complete one, I do an X. And I know that sounds a little wacky. To really say, like, okay, I'm going to do 100 Instagram posts this year and I'm checking them off as I go. But for me, I find it very psychologically satisfying. And I'm not good at like doing it right in that moment. Sometimes I get a little behind and then I have to go through and on Instagram, like if you're counting posts in your feed, it's like you're counting 3 at a time, 3, 6, 9, because there's rows of 3. But I'll just go through and okay, it's been a couple months since I've updated it. And like, how am I doing? And I really recommend, if you're an agent and you're like, I just don't have much going on right now. My client have kind of slowed down. I haven't heard, the phone's not ringing. Stop, assess, track the prospect. How many open houses have you done? And so for Colton, when he looked back at the year of how many open houses he'd done and how many clients he'd gotten from that, he discovered that for every 4 open houses he did, he gets a client. Now, for some people in some markets, it might be more like 8 or 10 open houses to a client. Knowing that conversion number, if open houses is something that you do, is really important. And of course, it can change your tier based on the motivation in the zeitgeist of the buyers. It can definitely change from city to city based on the clients, right? Some markets move slower than others. But knowing this so that psychologically for yourself, it is much more motivating to get up, get out there, get dressed cute, to get your supplies together, to put out 5 or 6 signs for an open house. If 1 in 4 of these means a client that closes within 3 months, right? Like that's something that is very trackable. So that is something I recommend. So for him, he knows Colton's got to do 32 open houses between July and December. And frankly, he's really got to do them between July and October. He's got a busy few months ahead of him if he wants to make up for his slower production at the beginning of the year, right? Or going off vibes. We're not going off vibes anymore. Colton is locked.
Colton's got to put the pedal to the metal.
So like my board, you break it down into steps and then you track your progress. So for me, I know I have a 50% close rate within 12 months. I mean, okay, if I'm honest, it's actually gone way up this year, Katie. I have no idea what's going on. But over the last 8 years, historically, it's been about 50%. And I think for regular real estate agents, the close rate is much higher of prospects to closing. But having some knowledge of how many prospects you have to have closings within 12 months is really important. For me, I say if you don't know, just go 50%. So that means you need to talk to 30 potential buyers to have 15 potential buyers or to have 15 buyers actually close within that year. And then I like to track, I started doing this years ago, putting my gross income goal on the side of the board. And I literally color it in with a marker. Every commission check, I'm just over there like, nah. And I think, I don't know, is it manifestation? Is it witchcraft? I don't know, but it really helps. And it also helps keep you kind of clued in and knowing where you are throughout the year. Just a very simple box. And I put it somewhere. I don't hide it in my office, in a back corner, in a place I never see. Like the first year I did this, I put it next to the front door. Like every day walking out, I knew how close I was to my goal. And I think it's really important for this to be alive in you. Does that make sense, Kate?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to, versus tucked away in like a spreadsheet, you got to find and dig through. And what was that thing called? And it's like right in front of you.
I think as you learn to trust yourself more, as you get more confident, as this becomes second nature, you can put it in a spreadsheet. You could have a software to track it all, right? But it's like you're almost like proving to yourself that this works. And until you've proved it to yourself, and these are my metrics. These are the things that I track to feel in control and to be able to predict my income. But for you might have different metrics. I could imagine people in the chats probably have other things that they're tracking, right? But building that trust with yourself and then building a system that you'll actually follow. That's the whole thing. It does not have to impress anybody else. Nobody has to know how you're doing this. The important thing is, are you hitting your goal? And are you making enough money to support the life you want? That's the metric for success.
Love that.
Just to review, where do you want to be at the end of the year? How much money do you need to make to be happy? Based on the average commission price in your market, how many deals is that? And what is the easiest and most joyful way that you can prospect consistently to generate the number of clients that you need to work with in order to have those closings by the end of the year? This is the way I think for the halfway. So grab the replay, pause and question. That is my recommendation. And again, for the mid-year check-in, these are the things you need to know. How you want to finish, where you are on the journey right now, and audit your marketing and figure out. There we go. Halfway. I don't accept the landing there, Katie, but
no, I love it. And we still have about 15 minutes. So I'd love to open it up to any questions if any of you guys have any questions. And I'd also love to just hear what do you guys think? Was this helpful? Did you get some ahas from Marguerite? I'm assuming I'm going to see lots of yeses, but let us know in the chat, yes or no. Are you doing some of the things that Marguerite's talking about, or is this something that you're like, I need to work on? Because I would imagine I feel like we do a pretty good job tracking, but I was like, yeah, there's some stuff I need to talk to Paul about. Because I think, you never stop learning. Like that's one thing I mentioned yesterday. I saw a really good question in the chat. Magale sent a message. She said, average prices here are a lot lower. So commissions are also a lot lower. So many houses need to come my way. Ideas to get better. Also, a lot of clients have disappeared and they're in waiting mode due to sort of things happening in the world. Katie Lance is always inspiring. Thank you for that. So, yeah, any thoughts on that? I know it's.
I feel this deeply. I don't think you've done the math, but I started in 2005, which means I came of age as a realtor during the nastiest housing crash in the history of time. Like realtors were jumping out of buildings, losing their houses. Like, it was a very horrible time. And our median home price went from 275,000 to 175,000 in a couple of years. 68% foreclosures and short sales. Like when you say motivated clients that actually want to close, like this was I don't want to sound like a, in my day, and way out of ways, but like I understand what you mean when you say the commissions are lower and it's harder to find people that are motivated. And that's an extreme example of that kind of market, but I know what you mean. So what you need to do is, this is what I suggest. This is what motivates me, is you need to look at how many transactions are happening in your marketplace, the number of sides. This always motivates me. Okay, so in my marketplace, maybe it was 5,000 sides last year. Okay, and then that means the number of deals that I need, the 25 closings that I need, is actually a teeny, tiny, microscopic portion of that. So what I want is a greedy share of motivated people. Like, I want the majority of my clients, to be, and this actually varies. I've done a lot of identifying and attracting ideal client classes with agents, and this is also part of kind of my matchmaking with the referrals. There's a lid for every pot. Different agents work well with different kinds of clients. And for me, relocating buyers were my favorite because they were motivated. That was born out of the housing crash. Buyers in my market would look forever because prices were going down. Why on earth would you buy something? Would you feel motivated to buy something when prices are going down? Are you?
I am. You kind of froze, but I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello? Wait, there she is.
Did I freeze?
You froze. You were like, sorry. Yeah, no, it's all good. That's all good.
Where did you lose me?
It was just for like a second. You were talking about
okay.
And the crash and.
So the idea is, in your marketplace, if the goal is, I want to increase my average price, and I also want to work with people that want to transact more quickly, who are those people? What percentage of the market is that? And what are the prospecting activities I need to do? I mean, there's a marketing component, right? Christine would be right here saying,
we lost you again. Well, I just can't hear you. I can see you now.
Okay. That's so strange.
Okay, now I can hear you. So weird.
Okay, weird. I'm so sorry.
It's probably me. I mean, I'm the one hosting this, so I don't know. Okay, good.
But yeah, I think Christine would say, there's a marketing and branding component. Is the look of your stuff targeted at the people you most want to attract? Katie would say, well, there's a content component, right? The conversation you're having with your clients on social media, in your blog posts, in your e-newsletter, in your Instagram reel, like, are you speaking to the price point and the motivated type of buyer that you want to be? I'm a little extreme on this. Like, I never make content for difficult people or even deeply confused people. Like, I am not the agent that's going to break all of that down for you. I like to speak to the people that I most like to work with, which are relocating boomers trying to get closer to their kids, and people coming from other states to our state that are relocating probably for work or otherwise very motivated, so that they're going to make their decision really quickly. And all the content I create is for those people, and those tend to be pretty quickly transacting people. I'm not like, how to become a first-time buyer, how to achieve your dream. That content, I've done that content in the past, but that is a longer horizon to close. And you might backfill with that stuff and build your pipeline of clients. But if you're trying to make things happen quickly with a higher price point, does your stuff reflect that? Does your content reflect that?
That's so good. I saw someone say this is one of the best planning sessions they have been in. So Thank you for that. That is
Yeah.
awesome. And I agree. I mean, I think this is such good advice. I mean, we could talk a lot more about this, right? I mean, it's such a huge
I
topic.
hope we will.
We hope we will. It's a good segue, right? Like I was saying in the beginning, if you joined us a little bit late, I mean, really the antithesis for putting this summer sprint together was really to look at your business and to look at your brand and to look at your goals and where you're at. And one of the things I wanted to share, if you haven't shared anything yet, this is a great slide to just take a picture of. I found this on Canva, of course. Um, and this idea of investing in yourself and the fact that you're here today, investing your time. And I think what you talked about, Marguerite, it just kind of scratches the surface, honestly. And it's one of the reasons, like shameless plug, but it's one of the reasons we wanted to have you here because I know this is a huge thing. One of the reasons why we reached out and I said, will you be one of our keynote speakers? Because you talk about this in such a way that really, I know resonates with me and has resonated with so many people. And so, all of you who are here live, or if you're watching this later on the recording, if you enjoyed this, I would highly encourage you to check out the mastermind that's happening in November. It's November 17th, 18th, and 19th. It's at the beautiful Bellagio in Las Vegas. And it's a small group environment. It's 10 or 15 people. We've been doing this for the last 7 years. And Christine George, was our feature speaker yesterday, is also one of our keynote speakers, as well as Marguerite. And there's just something really magical, and not to be corny, but being in a small group environment where you can go to Marguerite and be like, okay, I love what you're saying, but here's what's happening in my business. Like, what do you think about this? Like, there's just nothing like that sort of in real life time. So I wanted to just point that out. We do have a few spots left. I'll just give you a couple quick details about it. I know I've been talking about it, so you've heard me talk about it on social media, or those of you in the academy have heard me talk about it. It's November 17th, 18th, and 19th. So September 17th, 18th, and Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Like I said, it's at the beautiful Bellagio in Las Vegas. And it's really kind of broken up into two big chunks. Now, don't worry, you're going to get fed really well. First of all, it's part of why we have it in Vegas. So we got your meals covered, some amazing dinners and fun stuff. But there's also a lot of planning involved. And I know, Marguerite, you've been to a lot of events that you get fired up, but you don't necessarily do a whole lot. Like maybe you take a lot of notes, but like part of the mastermind is actually getting it done, right? Like today we heard from Marguerite talking about planning, and a big part of what you'll do with the mastermind is actually work on it yourself, like pull out the numbers, as well as work with me and work on your social media plan, and work with Christine and work on your branding. So a couple things really quick. We're going to cover your 5-year vision. We're going to cover your brand voice and your values. We're going to check about your marketing strategy. We're going to build your 2026 activity calendar. You're going to get live coaching and feedback. It's a lot, but it's packed in basically 2.5 days. And by the end of that second day, you're going to walk away. And I just want you to imagine, Marguerite, you just did a beautiful job of talking about what do you want to feel like at the end of the year, New Year's Eve. And it really got me thinking. And it's like, it's so perfect that we do this mastermind at the end of the year in November, right before the holidays, and being able to walk away and having your business plan done, your social media plan done, your marketing plan done, and also be able to collaborate with other agents and brokers from all over the world. You talk about referrals. You're like the queen of referrals. And we get folks who come to the mastermind from all over: Hawaii, East Coast, West Coast, Canada, US, like to be able to sort of be in the room where it happens, so to speak. You guys know I'm a big Hamilton fan. So collaborate with agents who get it. And I know it's not for everybody. It's a big investment in time and money. But one of the things I'm really passionate about, Paul and I, is not just creating an event that's sort of one and done, but how can we support you beyond that? And, we've got lots of resources, our coaching and our academy and things like that. But we want to be able to work with a small group of individuals, especially in a small group coaching environment, that we can really work with and get to know your business and hold you accountable. So like I said, shameless plug, we've got a couple spots left. And of course, I've got a little special offer since you're all here. If you sign up by the 5th, we're actually going to take $1,000 off your ticket. You can use a payment plan if you like, once you sign up. And that gets you everything for the event, but it also gets you 6 months of small group coaching with me. And we're going to roll up our sleeves and dig into your business and hold you accountable and help you as we go into 2026. So I've got a QR code on the screen. I've got a link on the bottom. But just wanted to invite you. This is not a hard sales pitch. It just really feel so passionate about helping agents and brokers, and especially I think with this particular opportunity to be able to work with you in person. I love Zoom. I love this opportunity virtually, right? Like what would we do without Zoom? But there's just nothing like an in-person small group workshop. So, Margaret, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to jump in and say about that.
I love that you're adding the 6 months of coaching. Like, imagine, like, I mean, no matter what kind of Colton you might be naturally, you'll be a Tammy with that.
Exactly. If you're flying by the seat of your pants or whether you're on top of it.
Yeah, you have the kind of structure in place to help keep you on track. That sounds amazing. And I'm selfishly very excited to also attend this retreat. Like, I am so excited to see Christine's sections on branding and marketing. And I'm really looking forward to planning my year.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I mean, selfishly, I always set aside a few days at the end of the year anyways to do our own planning. And so I'd love with the mastermind, Paul and I will always like usually stay an extra day or two to hammer out our own plan, right? Because there's just such a relief of being able to go home and being like, cool, we're set for the next year, you know? I saw a couple of questions in the chat. What number of small coaching? So the group will depend on how many are at the mastermind, but we limit the mastermind to usually 10 to 15. At the max, we've gone 20, but usually the sweet spot for the mastermind is about 10 to 15 people, which is what the small group coaching will be. So whatever the small group will be at the mastermind. And that's just to clarify, the small group coaching. Some of you know I have different coaching programs. This particular small group coaching is your cohort that you will interact with at the mastermind, right? So it's not like, oh, now I'm with random people. No, you will have spent 3 days with folks collaborating and working on your plan and getting everything done and learning. And then that cohort will also take you through coaching. So, it's great, obviously, for relationship building and referrals and all that good stuff. That's a great question. Let me know if you guys have been at the Bellagio, by the way. It's awesome. I love it. It's beautiful. Magla says, is a hotel included in the price of the mastermind? Is this for the event only? Great question. So the price includes all of your meals. So we have catered breakfast, lunch, we have a welcome reception, dinners, we have a great closing party at the Mob Museum, which I'm very excited about. You are responsible for your own travel and also the hotel. And the hotel, I don't know if you've ever priced the Bellagio, it can be very expensive. My husband, Paul, who's also my business partner, has secured an amazing room rate. So once you sign up, we'll email you, and then we'll give you the link to the discounted room rate. So you'll be able to take care of that. The other thing I'll mention really quick is part of why we have it in Vegas is it's really easy to get to Vegas from wherever you are in the world, right? Like whether you are in New York or Maui or Ontario or where you're at. So we try to make it easy for folks. And I would say too, I'll drop my email in the chat. Like I said, obviously this is a big investment in money and time. And I welcome you to email me. And if you're someone who's thinking about it and you're not sure, or whatever it might be, you might have some questions, I'm happy to hop on the phone and chat and see if it makes sense for you and your business. So thanks, Magdalene. All right. Now what are we doing on tomorrow? We are right at the hour mark. All right. So let me know what other questions you guys have. You can ask me anything, obviously, about the mastermind or ask Marguerite anything. I've got the QR code on the screen again. That way you can get the replay. If you already signed up for this session, don't worry, you don't need to sign up for anything again. But if, again, somehow you are here because someone sent you a Zoom link, you're like, I don't know how to get this replay, then you're going to want to scan that. That way we'll get your email. We can send you the replays. We've got some bonus stuff for you also. We'll send that out later today. If you missed yesterday, it's all good. We're going to send you an email later today with Christine's replay. And then you'll get a link also for today's class with Marguerite. I would recommend that you watch this again. You'll get the Zoom link so you can speed it up, which is kind of fun to do. You can hit pause, you can pull up your numbers, but really take to heart what we talked about today. I think that this was such a great timing as far as this halfway part. Marguerite, any last minute words of wisdom or next steps or anything else that you'd like to share or anything as we get to the end here today?
I'm thinking about 2019 when I had that content tsunami months, and it is so possible to turn it around at any point. And the other thing I would say is the prospecting that you could do consistently to attract that steady stream of great clients. It's more likely that you're going to prospect consistently if it's an activity that you love. So pick some activities to do them really consistently and really well. And you're going to hit your goal for the year. The question is like, what do you really love to do consistently?
Yeah. Pick one or two things. And I know for me, just really looking at the numbers, I think that was such a huge aha. I think I would imagine all of you would agree. Let me know in the chat what you guys think about that. But I think just looking at the numbers, whether it's a whiteboard, whether it's a spreadsheet. I mean, you guys already know I always say done is better than perfect. So pick something and then really, really track it. We're at that halfway point. So whether you've been on track or whether you're going to climb by the seat of your pants, like Colton in the example, I think the message is too, it's not too late. And especially in this time where, it can feel a little stressful. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world, stuff we can't control. Like this is stuff you can control. You can control how many times you're going to post to Instagram, how many times you're going to go door knocking if that's something you enjoy, like whatever it might be, like you can control that. I don't know how you feel about this, Marguerite, but in times of like, I don't know, stress or angst, like I always focus on what can I control? And that saying huge. Lots of positive feedback. Lynn, this is a great session. Thinking about Vegas, not sure about a family trip that might conflict. Hey, no worries. Yeah, check your dates. Like I said, we've got a couple spots open. So feel free to email me too, Linda. And let me know. I saw someone else say, I think it was Catherine, it was like, yay, meals included. Yes. You will not go hungry, by the way. Right? We're gonna feed you well. There's no fast food. This is good food.
Love it.
All right. Well, Marguerite, thank you so much. I love spending time with you. Thank you so much for giving of your time. This was such an amazing session. And I might ask you back because there's a lot of people who are really interested in your other class. So
Talk about it.
I'd love to talk about it. All right, my friends. Well, thank you so much. Connect with Marguerite, connect with me. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. Check your email later or the replay. I'll send you guys links to the masterminds. You can check that out and consider that. Would absolutely love to see you in November. And thank you guys so much for being with us these past 2 days. This has been so much fun. All right, my friends. Thanks, Marguerite. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. I could have turned it off. Okay. Where you go, Margaret? I love it. But